Happy Tuesday, everyone. I found this little snippet online yesterday and immediately sent it to Russ, who thought it was pretty funny. And it's typical of Buffalo how things here, little things, little minor things bother people.
Mm-hmm.
In spite of the fact that the Anchor Bar is crap, Buffalo takes inordinate pride in being the home of the chicken wing.
Mm-hmm.
And the preferred sauce for the chicken wing is Frank's Red Hot sauce, which is excellent.
Yeah.
According to you, I'm not a fan, but that's okay.
Well, it's okay. Yeah, everybody has their taste.
This is going into pizza territory.
Yeah. No, it's not yet.
No, not pizza.
Although I gotta say, Ty Anderson looked like he was eating a pizza with pineapple on it today, and he posted it on Twitter. And you know what? He's got no taste buds.
Hey,
wait,
it was a Canadian
are you sure it was
invented
pizza?
Hawaiian pizza.
Yeah, are you sure it was pizza, or was it like Odell Beckham and it was actually something else?
No, this was it's on Ty's account. I don't know.
No. I not with Ty. I know it's pizza. With Odell, it's definitely
we don't know.
Something else.
We don't know.
Yes. Yeah. Good luck with that contract, Odell. So anyway, Frank's Red Hot Sauce has a Twitter account, and they send out. And I don't know what day it was, but they send out a tweet regarding it being, and there are these like days of the year, like it's International Women's Day or this day or that day, and apparently it was some sort of ranch dressing day, and they said, hey, 2 peas in a pod, buffalo wings and ranch dressing. Okay, here problem 1: nobody in Buffalo and nobody with a self-respecting love of chicken wings calls chicken wings buffalo wings. They're chicken wings or they're wings. They're not buffalo wings.
Mm-hmm.
Buffalo or bison don't have wings. The second thing is the preferred dipping sauce is blue cheese. It's always been blue cheese. Now, people use ranch and they're free to, and they use other things, and that's fine.
So Mike is allowing you to use ranch in case you want to, people.
Not allowing. It's not. I deem that you should use ranch dressing.
I mean, that's what you're making it sound. You're like, well, I'm allowing this.
No, but this
as the Lord of the chicken wing.
Yeah, this raised a bit of a hubbub in Buffalo because, and essentially there was, it got to the point where they were talking about boycotting Frank's Red Hot Sauce because of the use of buffalo wings and ranch dressing. And then they did sort of a mea culpa on Monday and said there is no National Blue Cheese Dressing Day, but we should get something started. And we apologize to Buffalo for insulting their sensibilities. So I mean, I thought it was pretty funny. But
it's funny. I get it. They take it seriously. Like I told Mike offline, here ranch is offered as a dipping. Like I personally don't like blue cheese, but I can eat them plain. But I have gotten used to eating them with some ranch. But I get it. Like it's a staple there, and that's we've been in other places where they basically say, and I'm trying to think of the equivalent. Like if you were going to order American cheese in Philly with a cheesesteak, not Cheese Whiz, but like plain old American cheese, they'll look at you cross-eyed. They'll give it to you.
Yeah.
But they're like, what are you doing?
Well, John Kerry learned that lesson in 2004 because he went and ordered a hoagie in Philadelphia and asked for Swiss cheese, and they looked at him like he was an effete snob, and he is.
And he is.
So yeah. So I mean, although Russ, you know what? Honestly, I can't do Cheese Whiz. I hate Cheese Whiz. I would ask for provolone or something like that.
Provolone.
Yeah. I tell you, I love my American friends, but your weird food things are just so weird. Like it's just like, but you know what? They're so regional though. That's the thing, right? They're so regional, and it's fun to listen to because Canada is such a horizontal country.
Yeah.
And everything's sort of departmentalized across the country in these different sort of silos up, down, where you are horizontally, where you guys are all over the map and you have all these different variations and nuances, particularly with food. We're just not like that. It's like so clear cut.
Yeah. Well, I mean, nobody's as weird as I am because I have this thing, like everybody loves French fries or most people love
for life.
Well, what's that?
I said, I'm quoting you on that for life.
Yeah, there you go. Most people love French fries, and most people who eat French fries love ketchup. I hate ketchup. I can't stand it. I hate ketchup. I hate
You're
mustard.
I know some people who are like that. They're strange as well. But you know, you're not alone.
Strange. Yeah, I mean, I like my preferred. And it probably goes along with the chicken wings is when I order French fries. I ask for a side of blue cheese and I put vinegar on them.
Oh,
so
one of my
yeah
all-time favorite restaurants is no longer there in Vancouver because real estate's so goofy and basically you can't afford to own a restaurant there anymore. This place called the Red Onion, and in high school we used to get baskets of fries. No one put ketchup near them because they made a garlic dill sauce that was to die for dipping in, and that's what it. You got extra garlic dill, and it was fabulous.
You know, that makes sense.
Yeah, and now that I would go for, but I don't know what the hell it was like like when I was in the womb or like when I was a kid, but I can't stand ketchup. I can't stand, like, I go to a ball game for a hot dog, and I first of all, I prefer the kosher beef hot dog over like the regular hot dogs. And the only thing I'll put on it is like some onions. I won't put ketchup or mustard or relish or anything.
Look, ketchup on a hot dog is basically, you might as well just throw it in the garbage once you've had a ketchup to a hot dog. But mustard but a spicy mustard is absolutely essential. Onions, yes. Relish for sure. And if you're really getting serious and you're not, even if you're not having a smoky, sauerkraut works as well. But you put ketchup on, you just leave. Like, you're probably going to drink light beer too.
That's the problem is that, and most ballparks.
Yeah, I'm a mustard guy. I like different types of mustard, but usually the brown mustard, and I can do onions too.
And speaking of mustard,
sorry,
I was going to say, if you're going to get into mustard and talk about the value of mustard, no one is allowed to talk about mustard and pretzels until you've been to New York City, because after that it's all shut down. You have no street cred if you're going to try and say, oh, you can get a good pretzel and mustard anywhere other than New York. Sorry, that's the end of the discussion.
I was going to say most
other than New York.
No, if you're outside New York, don't bother.
No, that's not true. The Philly pretzel is better than the New York pretzel. It
most
is.
I haven't been to Philly, so I can't say. Okay.
Most ballparks have the sweet relish. And I can't. And what is it? Bread and butter, I think they call it.
Yeah.
It's gross.
Bread and butter pickles.
I could go with dill relish if I absolutely had to, but so anyway, let's get off the food.
I wanted to tell Peter, from what I could tell, Nick Patan's family restaurant is still going strong. It's somewhere in the Vancouver area, but it might be just outside it, and that's probably why.
Oh, really? I didn't know we had a family restaurant there.
Yes.
Oh, I got to do some research. I'm going out to Vancouver in about a month and a half, so I might have to explore this.
I think it's outside it, though. I think it's like Surrey or something.
Oh, okay. God, better safe than Surrey.
Ow.
Jeez. So no, now Peter, you said you said something about Richard Sherman's contract in San Francisco.
As a Seahawks fan, dyed in the wool, and and bleeding blue and green, watching what's happening to the team is basically just ripping my soul out right now. But there's an interesting piece on what happened with Richard Sherman's contract and the San Francisco 49ers. And I think, and I'm not going to really get into the nitty gritty of it. I've got it pulled up and I can read some of the things, but Peter King on the Monday Morning Quarterback talked about it and how this is an insanely good deal for the 49ers. And one thing that came out that wasn't available until this is presented or late on Sunday was that Sherman represented himself. Mm-hmm. The last player I am aware of doing this was Donald Brashear in Vancouver when he negotiated a deal for, and I'm sure others have done it.
Dominic Moore did it this year with the Leafs.
And Dominic Moore comes from a family of lawyers, though.
Yeah.
And I've got stories about them off air. Anyways, so Brashear did this, and he made one mistake on it. It was right in the change when all the contracts are being done in American dollars, and he forgot to put that clause in. So he did it in Canadian dollars. And it was a 1-year deal, and he bet on himself. He ended up making some more and stuff. Anyways, Sherman's deal is exactly why players should have agents. And when we gripe about the deals GMs in the NHL sign, the reason that they have to deal with these things is they're going up against people who know what they're doing.
Right.
And we can't just go and hold a gun to GM's heads and say, why did you sign that? Because there is a shark on the other side of the table who is representing this player and is going through these contracts. So if you're someone who hates Andrew Ladd's deal, there's a reason why it exists the way it exists. The David Clarkson one is another prime example of when maybe a GM needs to step away and revisit the deal and stuff. The point is, it's a complicated process, and every team has a deal you don't like, and then you get into the deals and you see something. This article really illustrates how valuable agents are, what they do, and how they sort out the mess in the best interest of the player. And it's a two-way street, and it's easy to forget that.
Well, I mean, best example is Mike yesterday talking about Todd Walker and Neil Walker, and basically saying, why did the Mets pay him $17 million last year? And I said, because it was a player option. They didn't have a choice. If Walker wanted to be there, all he had to do was make the option, just press the button on it, so to speak, and he did.
Now, I want to get back to the contract thing, but let's start the show, and we'll start the show. Hello, Hockey World. Today is Tuesday, March 13th, 2018.
Hi, I'm Peter Tessier from Winnipeg.
I'm Russ Cohen from Sportsology.
And I'm Michael Agello, and this is the Hockey Buzzcast here on HockeyBuzz.com. We'll talk about Alex Ovechkin and his 600th goal and a few other things and some related to the games last night. But I just wanted to continue the conversation about contract, but bringing it back to the NHL. The Clarkson deal was one of the first ones. I don't think it was the first, but it was one of the first ones that had the heavy signing bonus on there. And a lot of people at that time believed that contract was sort of buyout proof because of it. And that's the thing. It's buyout proof in the sense that you don't get a good cap. You don't get great cap relief because the buyout is based on not the total salary, but on the salary minus the bonus. So with Clarkson, I believe, like say his AAV was $5.25 million. $4.25 of that was always bonus that got paid on July 1st. So if you went to buy him out, you would only be buying out with the percentage of whatever whatever the million, 2/3 of a million for the number of years, and the bonus would still be on the cap. And that was the thing. Now, Toronto got around that by trading it to Columbus because he was on a long-term injury. They took Nathan Horton back, and Clarkson's contract had insurance on it for his injury, but Horton's didn't. So they didn't. So they sort of lucked out because that was sort of the I believe it was Jarmo Kekalainen who approached Toronto about that. So it wasn't – they sort of lucked out in the sense that they had the ability to take on a contract even though it didn't have insurance, and they were made of money so they could pay for that one. But after that –
I was going to say the net gain for the Leafs is that the cap relief they got from Horton's contract without insurance didn't matter to – they needed the cap relief.
Right.
And paying the extra 4.5 or whatever is $5.5 million a year for them didn't matter to their books. It was sunk money.
The first signing bonus I can remember in the NHL, and I could be wrong, was when Gretzky signed with the Rangers. They gave him like a $2 million signing bonus. So this way he wouldn't be making more per year than Messier. And that's how they sort of got past the ego part of it. Right. And that was in an uncapped world, but that was also probably the start of it there. Clearly it had been happening in other sports. Well, but, I also went back and looked. In 1990, Mario Lemieux was the top paid NHLer with a salary of $2 million.
Yeah. It was insane.
And that's the thing. I mean, we're seeing it now, what's going on in the NFL. We're not going to talk NFL, but I'm just saying, referencing it. You can see what's going on now today with these contracts that are being signed, like Kirk Cousins' contract, where, I mean, the NFL had the one up on all the other professional leagues because they didn't have guaranteed contracts. Well, now Just like the NHL was using signing bonus as a little enticement to get players to sign, the NFL is using guaranteed contracts. So now Kirk Cousins signs a 3-year deal with the Minnesota Vikings today, or he's going to sign it, and he's getting everything guaranteed. So now the NFL is on that slippery slope, and we've seen deals past the Clarkson deal, where there have been increasing signing, not to the extent of him, but there have been contracts with significant signing bonus, and that it could be a problem for these teams down the line. With Toronto, they were able to get out of it, but with some other contracts, like all those free agents from a couple years ago, I think Lucic is heavy signing bonus. I think Opozo is heavy signing bonus. Those are going to be trouble contracts for Edmonton and Buffalo if things don't improve for those players a couple years down the road.
Oh, absolutely, and and it's going to be a trend too. And I think we also know that this is probably going to be one of the contentious issues in the next CBA agreement. Yes. But who wants to talk about that right now? Because that's just a big.
We'll deal with that in 2019 and 2020 because I think that's going to be a daily occurrence, unfortunately. Okay, let's talk about some of the games last night. Start off with the game in Washington. I watched a lot of this game, Peter. I know you did. 3-2 Capitals victory over the Winnipeg Jets. Hellebuyck played great in that game, but I have to say, and he's an excellent he's a excellent player, but Dustin Byfuglien is a terrible defensive defenseman. His impulse control and his decision making are really bad. And last night he cost them a point. Not that I think it's going to matter to the Jets, but in overtime after a penalty. It's 4-on-4, then it becomes 3-on-3. Winnipeg is in the Washington zone for one of the first times in overtime, and Byfuglien makes the decision at the blue line to essentially pinch, and Kuznetsov flips it by him, and he goes in on Hellebuyck and scores the winner. Byfuglien can't do that. He just can't.
You know what, Mike? That play has been analyzed to death in the last 20 hours in Winnipeg, and there are so many aspects to it that you can't pin it all on Byfuglien.
No.
Where I was more upset with Byfuglien was the second Ovechkin goal, where Hellebuyck is basically stopping everything on his stomach across the crease, lying there, stacking pads, and Byfuglien's on one knee trying to willy-nilly whack the puck away from Ovechkin. And it's like, dude, knock him to the ground. Just stand in front of him. You're a wall compared to anything. But no, that's where I get a little nuts with Byfuglien is sometimes in front of his own net, he just loses track of what he should do.
Like for when he does use some brute force, like in Philly, he did get a call against him. So he's probably not afraid to do it, but probably trying to pick spots because he doesn't want to get penalized and hurt his team. I think that's unfortunate, but that's what it is because he's so much stronger than guys that I think Byfuglien has that following him.
Yeah. So you break down that play. There's so much in this that is a problem for the Jets. First of all, Byfuglien, Wheeler, and Little took a very dumb penalty to start overtime. Yes. They gave them he shouldn't have been on the ice. That should have been enough right there. Wheeler and Byfuglien had also killed the penalty. Byfuglien was now over 3 minutes at the time of that goal on the ice in total. Way too much.
Yeah, I was a little surprised at one. I was a little surprised at one thing, Peter. The de-pairing for killing the penalty was Byfuglien and Sherratt.
Morrissey, who was the best defenseman on the ice for Winnipeg last night. He tracked Ovechkin very well in a number of plays. Had a very good stick. He was very focused. And he saw a minute of OT. I mean, there's so much for Winnipeg fans to go through on this, and I won't bore the rest of the viewers with the Winnipeg perspective again. But the Jets don't know how to play OT. And yes, OT is a different animal, but they treat it as the same as 5-on-5. They attack the net thinking they can recover the puck if it doesn't go through. Every other team that I've watched play against the Jets holds on to possession. You've got the long change. So you can shift off in your own zone when you have in the offensive zone, right? Because you've switched ends for the goalies. The Jets don't do that. They attack. And so on that goal where Kuznetsov got the puck, Wheeler waited too long to make a pass. He didn't peel back around and set up the play and let Byfuglien get the zone. He passed it to Little. A diving stick and a good bounce. Kuznetsov picks it up. Wheeler at this point is broken stride and is skating because he's trying to cover the pass to the middle.
Right.
Bufflin's and he's thinking Buff's going to probably come in and pinch. Well, if Wheeler starts striding back because he knows Buff's going to pinch, he gambled that Bufflin is going to make the pinch. And so he should have been already going. I mean, it's not like Bufflin was out of the play, but he's not the only one at fault. And I get why he takes the blame on it, because it looks like another Bufflin gaffe.
Yeah.
And it does. But the Jets have bad tactics in OT. They're 2-8. If they could just get to 5-5, guess what? They're tied with Nashville for first in the West. If they just had a 500 record in OT,
yeah,
that's how many points.
And they're in a similar position that Toronto is right now in the East, in the sense that they're stuck in second. They're going to be in second.
Yeah.
They're 7 points ahead of Minnesota, but they're behind Nashville. So, in the grand scheme of things, they got a point. It's fine. But I'm just saying, Bufflin, especially in the playoffs, you've got to take that sort of risk element out of your game. And I realize that they don't have Enstrom and they don't have Trouba. I actually, for a couple shifts, and I didn't watch. Like I said, I didn't watch the entire game when he was on the ice. I was impressed with Pullman. How is he just basically a bottom pairing guy, or is this somebody who they think can be?
He's a bottom pairing guy, and he's spent most of the season with the Moose. They sent him back down once they got Morrow for roster reasons, and also he just needs to be playing more. Yeah. One of the observations that come with Pullman is the pace of the game at the NHL level. He's having some trouble with at times, whether it's a reaction speed or a processing the game speed. You know what I mean? Like, does the body move fast enough, or is the mind moving fast enough?
Yeah.
I think it's a little of each. But for a kid who literally has just come out of college, 4 years of college, and now is has played a significant role for the Jets, I think he's holding his own, and I think there's a good upside to him. But I think, the game, he's got to learn that speed. Things have to become instinctual to make the right decision, not do I do this? And I think there's a little bit of thinking going on. And I know, Russ, you've probably seen this in a ton of prospects over the years and how they address that, right?
Yeah, I mean, the funny thing is that there's only so much you could do with a guy if he doesn't think the game fast enough. Like, that's not something that really can be taught. It is innate. I saw him play the other night. I think he's okay. I don't know if he's a long-term guy, though, because, that's something that you have to be able to know. And if you don't, then it's hard to teach. You could definitely teach a guy how to play better defense, gap control, zone, and all that. Up here, that's hard, man.
Yeah, I can tell Kyle likes Pullman a lot. All right, but now I sort of buried the lead here, because the lead story is obviously Ovechkin with his 600th goal. We've talked the plaudits of Alex Ovechkin so much over the years that I'm really sick of talking. I mean, he's a phenomenal player. He's a Hall of Famer. I'm one of those people, though, who doesn't think that he's as great as he's been promoted as being until he wins a Stanley Cup. And I know that he can't do that all on his own, but he has come up small in the postseason a number of times. And to me, that's the whole Barry Bonds thing with baseball, Russ, but
it's a small stain, Mike. Like, at the end of the day, I forgot what the list was now for Ovechkin, but he's literally on a list with all-time guys like Gretzky, Lemieux. And so, like, we haven't seen a guy scoring like this really since the Gretzky era. Like, he is that prolific. He's going to end up with 700-800 goals. Yeah,
I was going to ask, how far do you think? Because they had a list last night of players scoring for one particular team, and the leader is Howe. I think it was like a little under 800, 786 goals for one team, obviously the Red Wings, and now Ovechkin has all 600 of his with the Capitals. I think he's going to end up staying with the Capitals for his entire career, but you never know what can happen down the line. But how high do you think he can get? I don't think he's going to catch Gretzky.
No, I don't think so. I don't think he'll catch Gretzky. But I mean,
pass Messier at 694. He'll pass Gartner at 708. Esposito at 717. Dion at 730. once you get to the whole 741, Yager 765, that's where I think he's going to maybe get to. That may be the height. I think Gordy's 801 is safe.
Yeah.
Yeah. The thing, I mean, the point about, where Ovechkin sits, he's one of 4 guys to score 600 and under 1,000 games. And if you look at the other 4 guys, or the other 3, look at the era they did it in. I mean, it's actually incredible what he's done.
It is.
And I think the one thing that should be agreed upon for NHL fans is that you can't have a conversation about greatest goal scorers without Ovechkin in it.
Sure.
And I think and you can shake it down any way you want.
Because people nowadays will say, well, he's one-dimensional, that's all he is. Well, at the end of the day, that's all Luc Robitaille was too. But everybody loves Luc Robitaille.
But everybody values goal scoring, so yeah.
Yeah. You don't win without scoring goals. And in this league now, goal scoring is an all-time premium historically. So you have to value it more.
And one observation I had from that game last night, Russ, and then we'll move on to other games. Washington is going to play their top 4 to death. It's going to
will. Yeah, no doubt.
Carlson, Orpik, and Niskanen. And, the bottom pairing is probably going to play 8, 9, 10 minutes.
Yep.
I don't know how, if they have one injury, they're done, or, it's one of those scenarios. I don't know how they can think that they can get through multiple rounds playing those top 4 guys 25 minutes a night.
I mean, we've seen Chicago do it. I mean, I know Orpik's a little bit old, but maybe he can get through it. I mean, they're definitely going to try. I mean, there's no question that's the plan, but plans sometimes change. Here's the ace in the hole. Maybe, just maybe at some point, they'll bring up Jonas Siegenthaler as just, as an extra guy, even though they'd probably rather see him play the playoffs and everything in Hershey. You know what? He could play a little bit. If you put him in small stints, he could be a decent defensive defenseman in spots. Maybe that's how they're going to get past it. Maybe just using, one extra guy like that, it could help. I mean, Madison Bowie, maybe they'll give him a few more minutes. He's been playing pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, and like I said, I liked seeing him in the AHL. I thought he was a good player. I thought he had NHL capability. They haven't used him a ton in terms of minutes, and they went out at the deadline and got, guys like Kempney, who were low price depth additions, and they'll probably play him because he's got more experience in the playoffs. But I just think if you're going to play all those, I mean, Carlson is going to lug 27, 28 minutes a night. So is Orlov because he can skate. Okay, moving on to the game that you were at, the Golden Knights and the Flyers. Now, this is the second time in less than a week that the Flyers blow a lead late in the third period. And for them, every point counts in that tight race in the Metro. They lose 3-2 on a Ryan Carpenter scored the winner with less than 3 minutes left to go. Again, I watched a pretty good, decent chunk of that game. I can't blame Mrazek for the winner because it was just the Philadelphia defense got trapped in their own zone. But I think they need their goaltending to come up big and make that big save to earn them that point. And he didn't do it last night, but I can't blame him for the loss.
No, I mean, that first goal was fluky, right? I mean, he did hit it with his stick and it went into the corner of the net. This was not a problem game for Mrazek, but the problem in this game has been the same problem that we've talked about now 2 or 3 times, and that's sort of just locking it down at the end of the game. Fleury did it in that game. There were some definite good shots that could have gone in, but he locked it down. I think the problem is that the Flyers, and this is in concert, goalie and defense, it's not all on the goalie. The goalie is what everybody looks at and says, hey, he's the guy that should do it. He needs to lock it down, but it's a system too. But they have had trouble with this, and that loss last night was bad. Now with Columbus coming in 2 points behind them, that's a must-win game now. You can't afford to lose that game. If that game even goes into overtime, you've given Columbus a point. So that's a game they need to win in regulation, which, again, regulation wins aren't as easy for the Flyers as overtime wins. I'm never going to say shootout because they're still a bad shootout team, but overtime wins. So that's something now where we're going to see. I do want to say, as far as Marc-Andre Fleury goes, I've covered him since the draft. What was it, the 03 draft, right? Craig Patrick traded up for him.
Mm-hmm.
Brilliant trade. I always say that made the franchise. If he didn't do that, everybody can say, hey, Crosby, Malkin, whatever, but you needed Fleury too.
Right.
Just such a classy guy. Like I followed him since juniors. I've seen him play in the NHL, and we've seen him struggle this year with injuries, not with play, but with injuries. And one of the things he said really stuck with me. Like, he didn't want to take a bow for that great save he made, the glove save. He didn't even want to really discuss it.
Yeah. Peter, Russ and I talked after the game, and I'm watching this game, and he makes an unbelievable glove save on Travis Sanheim, and I think it was late second or early third period. Yeah. And I'm like, any goaltender out there, I'm not to say that they would be patting themselves on the back, but would acknowledge like how great a save that was. And when Russ is telling me that he was like sort of downplaying it, I'm like,
I made the save, and then when they pushed him on it, he's like, yeah, it was a good shot from the slot. Like that's all he would say. But that's the way this guy operates. And he said, you never know how long you're gonna play. I've never heard Marc-Andre Fleury talk that way before. Because Marc-Andre Fleury in the past would never even broach that subject because he always just acted like he'd play forever, right? But now all of a sudden that sort of has crept into it. So for him to get to 400 is a pretty big deal considering his concussion problems. And I think he's the 13th goalie to do it in NHL history. He's probably a Hall of Famer at this point because he's got a couple of cups under his belt. So we're watching. We're watching 3. 2 as a starter is where I always look at the starting ones. At the end of the day, he's something pretty special, and he's a special guy too. Like, he's a guy that is a real star in the league, but doesn't promote himself, and the league has never promoted him.
Well, I have to say this, and this is not really worth anything, but I think the NHL commercials that they do, the ones with McDavid and Tyler Seguin, all of them seem like they're cardboard. Except for Marc-Andre Fleury. Right. His is like, he's like having a conversation. He's light, he's bubbly. How do you like Faye? Well, it's pretty hot. I mean, he's very
that's the way he is after a game. Like, it's just, and he was happy that he won in Philly because obviously with Pittsburgh, they had great rivalries with Philly. So that did make him smile. But at the end of the day, that's the way he is. He is a happy-go-lucky guy. This guy has never had a bad day in his life. I'm telling you.
You remember after that the World Junior game, there were some questions about his psyche too, and how he was going to bounce back. And his first go with Pittsburgh was a little iffy. He had to use into it.
Look, every goalie has that moment, right? Every goalie. I mean, look at Mike Richter in the playoffs when he gave up like that 45-footer. Ranger fans wanted to lynch him. He was a young goalie, and everybody goes through that.
Yeah, but here's the interesting thing about Fleury. Taken number 1 overall in 2003. There's only been 3 other goalies to go in the top 10 since then. Can you name them?
Carey Price.
Yeah, Price is definitely one in 05.
Kerry Lettinen.
I think Lettinen was beyond 10, so I'm going to say no on Lettinen.
No, he was a top 5, but he may have been before Fleury. I know.
Oh, that's true. He may have been before Fleury.
I know DiPietro was.
DiPietro was 2000 though, so that's the problem with that.
So since then.
I'm going to go Al Montoya.
Yep, that's 2.
Thank you for reminding me of that, Peter. Third, let me think.
Samsonov was.
Samsonov.
No, he was in the 20s. He was in the 20s.
No,
20s. Yeah, I can't think of the third. Go ahead.
The other one is Jonathan Bernier.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Wrong. I made a mistake. He went 11th.
Yes, he went 11th.
My mistake.
Yeah.
Hang on. Yeah. Actually, there's a guy, I think he was drafted by, where is he? I got to find this now. I just saw it. Jack Campbell? Is that the name?
Yeah, Jack Campbell. Yeah. Jack Campbell's still playing.
Jack Campbell. Yeah, no, he went 11th too. So actually, there's only 2. And it's Montoya and Price.
And Jack Campbell was Dallas, and Bernier was LA. So
yeah. I mean, that just shows you how the draft has changed, because you would see goalies in the top 10 before that, but it also shows the way GMs and scouts look at goaltending now. but it also shows you a little bit of how special Fleury was early on.
Yes. Nobody will draft
like he was
goalie
top 10. He was a top 10 pick. No, it'll never happen.
No.
Never. But it shows you kind of how special he was, but how Patrick believed in him and saw something in him. And that's really cool. And I think that's a really cool,
because I remember going over and interviewing him right after the move. And I think over time, and he was very, look, Craig Patrick knew his hockey, right? He was a very successful GM.
Sure.
I just think over time, though, people have forgotten that about this part of his story.
Well, the amazing thing, and I'm pretty sure DiPietro came in at 19 in the NHL. He was
that's about right.
Yeah, I think he played 1 year at Boston U, and then Fleury came in as an 18-year-old. He was getting bombarded by playing for a bad Penguins team. This is the Penguins before Crosby, before Malkin, before they had Jordan Stahl. He was playing for a terrible team, and a lot of goaltenders at 19 and 20 years old facing 45 shots a night would not recover from that. And then, if you remember, after the Cup win, he had those, that series against Philadelphia, Russ. I mean, I remember people thinking that mentally he was not going to be able to recover from, all the goals that he was giving up in that series and the troubles that he had in the playoffs.
There were 7 goals. I think was 7 in one game. Yeah,
when Ilya Bryzgalov is the better goalie of the two in a series, you have to wonder what the hell's going on. But
can you imagine this? Because this year has been so wacky, anyways. Imagine a situation where the Stanley Cup final is Vegas versus Pittsburgh. just think about that for a second. Well, that was not out of the realms of possibility.
Well, I said
I don't think either's going to make it, but it could happen.
I said to Russ last night that the one thing about Vegas that I was impressed with, and they've impressed me all year. Nobody expected this, and Russ said that their workmanlike effort throughout 60 minutes is incredible. Impressive. But a guy like Tatar, who they traded 3 draft picks for, he is sort of just fit in. It's not like he's the outside guy and he doesn't belong to this tight-knit group. No, and that was the concern of they're not going to mess with the chemistry. No, he fit in right away, and he looks like he's part of the puzzle.
Yeah, I will say this. We mentioned Ryan Carpenter. We really do need to mention it in greater detail because he was picked up on waivers December 12th. And the Sharks waived him, and he's played in 23 games, and he's got 8 goals and 12 points. Another kid out of Florida. Think about this for a minute. What George McPhee has done, and David Conte is their pro scout, so he gets full credit for getting him. A kid out of college, and David Conte has scouted many a college guys, was doing it for Lou Lamoriello for many, many years with the Devils.
Yes.
This is a hell of a pickup on a waiver wire for a team that now could use him, next couple of years if they want to, or just use him this year. He's 27 years old, but he was really thankful. Carpenter was just like, yesterday, just blown away that he, won the game and where they are and how he's landed. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, and you mentioned Columbus. They beat the Canadians yesterday 5-2, and you were mentioning that they had this game coming up against the Flyers. Well, Seth Jones got hurt in that game. And it was ironic because a couple of writers that I respect were out there last night saying, Seth Jones deserves some credit and some notice for the Norris because he's had a really good year. And then he gets hurt. And, that's a nip and tuck battle right now with Columbus, with Carolina, with Philadelphia, with New Jersey. And if they lose Seth Jones for a lengthy time period, that's really going to hurt Columbus.
Oh, yeah. That's going to be massive. And he was scoring. He was, that's going to take Columbus right off the rails, given the competition in the East.
Yeah. Now, Florida has been making a pretty hard charge over the last 3 or 4. I know, Leaf fans calm down. It's like they saw the Leafs with a 21 point lead on Florida, and all of a sudden it's down to 12, and they're like, there's some who are starting to panic, and I'm like, they had 5 games in hand. They were going to close the gap a little bit. But key loss last night. They lose to Ottawa 5-3 in Florida, again in front of like 10,000 fans who are disguised as empty seats. But Russ, I mean that's the team that I think if it's obviously they're aiming for a wild card. Again, Luongo was not on last night, and if Luongo isn't on, they're not winning.
No, I mean they really need Luongo to be at his best. The interesting thing about this is, Bill Meltzer pointed out like a couple days ago that hey, they had a strong home schedule, and I don't know if that's the full reason that they were playing this well, because you could still lose games at home. I guess, was this another home game?
Yeah.
So this was another home game. So, yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I guess the road is where they're really going to be tested, because I have a feeling they'll stay hot at home, but we'll see what they do on the road. That's going to be the thing. But Luongo can't keep playing all these games. I agree with you. If Reimer can't play the occasional game and win it, then maybe call up Adam Wilcox from the minors, from the AHL, and try him. But they're not going to do that, right? Because they've spent a lot of money on Reimer. Somehow they've got to get him in the mix and win some games, because just like Keith Kincaid in New Jersey, he pretty much saved their season and helped Schneider recover from all his injuries. Well, Luongo has recovered, but he can't play that kind of schedule down the stretch.
In the news today, Elliot Friedman reports that Mike Fuda, who was named as one of many on the list of Carolina owner Thomas Dundon's potential GM candidates, he's withdrawn from consideration for that. Russ, you sort of called this. I mean, he's got it really comfortable in LA.
Very happy there, as far as I can tell.
Yeah, and the thing is, I think, he's young enough that he's going to have opportunities to be a GM, but it's gonna be probably on his terms, and his reputation, I think, is sealed because I mean he's got a great eye for talent. I remember a few years ago he was the guy that I wanted and I thought was the dark horse for the Leafs job, and then they went establishment and they went with Lou, and I think that's worked out great.
Toffoli is one of his best ones, right?
Yeah,
they hung with Forbert. Forbert's turned into a nice player. Jake Muzzin is a great one. Like there's just so many that you could go through with Michael Fuda. So many successes.
Yeah, Muzzin was a redraft. He was a yeah.
And so again, that's they're good at that. I think Dundon's going to have a problem here though, because I think he's portrayed himself a certain way, and now to get one of these great assistants that are very comfortable in the jobs that they're at, either waiting for that job, which I don't think Food is necessarily waiting for that job, but I don't know, either waiting for that job or waiting for another, or just happy with what they're doing. It's going to be hard to pry away one of these assistants. So Dundon may have to go completely outside of that plan and end up with like his fourth or fifth choice. It wouldn't shock me if it goes that way.
Or he has to wait until the off season, because some of these assistant GMs aren't going to want to leave, their team.
Well, Botterill left in season though. He did.
Yeah,
remember
that's true. Happens. Jack Eichel, he's been skating for a while with the Sabres. He was on the ice today at the KeyBank Center, and there's speculation that he will return against Toronto on Thursday. Whenever this is now, I was told that his high ankle sprain that he had, which was last month, was not the same leg. I thought it was, but it was a different leg. But okay, you've got 10 games left in the season, 10, 12 games at most.
It's hard to shut down a guy like Jack Eichel.
This guy is important to this franchise. I just,
I know, but he also wants to have something to go into the summer with down the stretch to sort of motivate him for the next year. Like it's a battle. Like how do you tell this guy you're better off shutting it down? It's hard to do that. And so you have to trust that the medicals are good and he's not going to be able to re-injure it. We'll see.
Yeah. I thought this was pretty funny. There are some people who are very creative on Twitter. The NHL announced that Andrew Ference was joining the league as the director of social impact, growth, and fan development. And Peter, you were laughing, so you must have seen it. Immediately after that video, after that announcement, the video of him flipping the bird at the Bell Center to the Habs fans.
Yeah.
was out there. Nothing is better than that video.
I
know it's hilarious.
All right, Russ, do we have any questions in the chat?
Yeah. All right, let's see. I'm going all the way back here, so give me a minute.
Yes, Tim Tebow is 1 for 17 with 10 strikeouts. What a shot. Russell Wilson has hit better than Tim Tebow at Yankees camp, Russ.
Not shocking. All right, how likely – this is from goal, whatever, left. I'm not sure what the rest is. How likely is it that Ilya Kovalchuk comes back, and where is he signed? How much is he looking for? Okay. He's going to try and come back with the Rangers. I don't know if the Rangers want him. He'll sign for probably like $5 million.
If the Rangers get it on Tavares, I could see them going after Kovalchuk because they need to give him a wing. Maybe not him, but another scoring option. I
think it'll be a 1-year deal, like $5 million, and I think it'll end up being the Rangers. And if it's not the Rangers, he might even look to the Island, and maybe the Islanders would do that, especially if they lose Tavares. They might try and fill that void with Kovalchuk.
If he's bound and determined to stay in the New York area, then that makes sense. All I know is that I've heard just around that, the Leafs are probably losing Van Riemsdyk to free agency this summer. And we know the connection between Lou and Kovalchuk going back to the Devils days. If he's looking for a 1-year deal, I think the Leafs would be in on that because
I agree.
He would be a good 1-year replacement, but I don't think anybody's going to go more than a year because he's 35 years old and the 35 and over contract is a consideration.
Yep. Also from the same guy, goal, whatever. Question: do we know who could possibly pull the Butcher Kerfoot move this summer? I don't know of any right offhand.
Well, I have to give Corey Pronman props because he did a list of undrafted free agents and pro picks.
No, but this is a drafted free agent. This is
right, and drafted guys who are going to not re-sign with their teams. And one name that popped up, and I don't know if he's any relation to the former NHL Craig, but Christian Wolanin, a defenseman from who was drafted by the Senators. He's leading North Dakota in scoring right now, and apparently he's talking about not just going pro and not signing with Ottawa and being a college free agent. So
I don't think he's at the level, even though he might be leading North Dakota in scoring. I don't think he's at the level of Butcher or Kerfoot, to be honest.
No, and I'm only giving you the names that he mentioned: Dylan Sakura, who was a draft pick of the Blackhawks, Louis Belpedo, a defenseman with the University of Minnesota, or with the Minnesota Wild.
Yeah, Belpedo, I like Belpedo. I think there's something there, but again, you're probably talking about a third pairing guy in the NHL if he were to make it.
Right, and Jake Evans, a center drafted by the Canadiens.
Jake Evans has had a great year. Like, I don't know if Jake Evans will keep that up or if he's doing that because he's a senior, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not as high on Jake Evans, but Belpedo I do happen to like. We'll see. I mean, again, if you want to just talk free agents, Max Verana, I think he'll be the first guy signed whenever Princeton loses. But right now, Princeton's still in it. So,
yeah, we got to remember though that not every year is going to be Butcher and Kerfoot and VC.
Correct.
You'll have years where it's very thin. You'll have years when there's a couple guys who could be not star. I don't want to say stars, but who will be effective contributors.
Nobody's really been a star. Butcher is probably the closest.
Yeah,
and VC's been good.
Yeah, Tyler Bozak back in the day.
Bozak's very good.
Adam Oates way
Adam Oates is the star, right? But it's so rare. So Butcher is the closest to that.
Yeah. Any more questions?
Oh, yeah. Oh, wait, one more question from Thomas. Who do we think will win the cup this year? We're not revealing that now, Thomas.
Oh, jeez. Yeah. Well, hey, we have a pre-show. We have a Stanley Cup playoff preview show. Watch that, and we'll make our predictions then. All right, guys, good show. We will be back tomorrow. I will be in Toronto, so we won't know what time until we get a hold of that.
Yeah, we got to coordinate.
We have to coordinate our timing here, so we will let everybody know via Twitter what time we'll be doing the show. I'll be doing it from a coffee place. Hopefully, they'll shut the music down. For Peter Tessier, for Russ Cohen, I'm Michael Agello. Thanks for watching, and remember, without the buzz, it's just hockey.